Welcome back. There's a mistake most men make without ever realizing it, and it happens in the span of a single hug. It's barely noticeable, almost invisible to the naked eye, yet in those brief seconds of contact, something shifts in her mind. Without a conscious thought, something in her registers. This man doesn't carry real masculine energy. And the maddening part is that the vast majority of men have no idea this is even happening. They're doing what they've always done, copying the hugs they saw on screen growing up, mirroring what the guys around them do, never once suspecting that this one small physical moment is quietly draining the chemistry right out of the room before a single word has even been exchanged. So right now, we're going to walk through 3 types of hugs that silently destroy any spark between a man and a woman. We'll break down exactly what each one signals to her subconscious, and then we'll get to the 4th hug. The one almost nobody ever discusses. The one that separates the men she thinks about for days from the ones she forgets the moment she turns around. Stay with this until the very end, because that one distinction doesn't just change how you hug, it changes how women respond to you across the board. Here's the foundational truth behind everything you're about to learn. Women feel before they think. While you're standing there running calculations in your head, wondering whether now is the right moment, whether she'll welcome it, whether it'll come across the wrong way, her brain has already processed the situation and moved on. The emotional centers of the brain fire up in under 4 seconds. That's biology, not opinion. And that means logic takes a back seat. A hug, or the absence of one, speaks directly to that emotional part of her before any of your carefully chosen words ever get the chance. In less than 5 seconds of physical contact, her nervous system is quietly answering questions she never consciously asked. Does this man make me feel secure? Does he have genuine presence? Does he know who he is? It doesn't matter how successful you are, how tall you stand, how sharp your sense of humor is, or what you have in the bag. If the hug misses, her body overrides everything else and quietly files you under safe but forgettable, or worse, just forgettable. Now let's get into the mistakes that are likely still happening without you knowing. The first one is the weak hug. You've felt it before, maybe given it more times than you'd like to admit. The arms barely make contact, the torso stays a comfortable distance away, and the pressure is so faint it feels like you're terrified of disturbing her. Or it becomes that classic one-armed side embrace where you tap her on the back like she's a distant relative at a family gathering. To her subconscious, this kind of hug broadcasts hesitation, self-doubt, and a complete absence of masculine grounding. She won't put it into words, but the feeling lands anyway. He's not sure of himself. He doesn't trust his own presence, and that feeling doesn't just disappear when the hug ends. It lingers. It colors every interaction that follows. Women have described it after dates this way. He was perfectly nice, but something just felt off. In the overwhelming majority of those cases, it started with a hug that felt like an apology. The second mistake sits at the opposite extreme, and it's just as damaging. This is the aggressive hug, the one where you squeeze harder than necessary, hold on past the point of comfort, or let your hands drift somewhere they have no business being during a greeting. This is not masculine intensity. It's an intrusion. What her body picks up in that moment is discomfort, a lack of social awareness, and a quiet but devastating question that snuffs out attraction immediately. Does this man understand boundaries? Once that question appears in her nervous system, whatever spark had been building is extinguished. Men who look exceptional on every surface level have lost the connection entirely because of one overreaching embrace. Her body moves into self-protection mode and it simply doesn't come back out. Then there's the third hug, the one that flies under the radar but causes just as much damage. This is the ghost hug. You're physically standing there, but mentally you've checked out. Maybe your eyes are scanning the room over her shoulder. Maybe your muscles are locked tight, your breath shallow and held. Or worst of all, the second the contact begins, you're already pulling away like the interaction made you uncomfortable. You're bodily present but emotionally nowhere to be found. Women feel this with an accuracy that will surprise you. What she takes from it is, he's not interested. I don't matter to him right now. And that lands harder than either of the previous two mistakes, because it feels like being rejected while still being held. In a world drowning in digital distraction, the ghost hug has become almost epidemic, and it's quietly killing chemistry in interactions everywhere. Now here's where the conversation shifts entirely. The masculine hug that actually works is the one almost no one ever explains. This is the hug that burns itself into her memory for days while everything else fades by the time she's in her car. It's firm, it's deliberate, and it comes from a place of complete groundedness. It blends presence with genuine warmth, and once you understand it, the way women respond to you will shift in ways that go far beyond physical greetings. It begins with you taking the initiative. You don't stand back and wait for her to move first. You step toward her with calm and certainty. Your feet are planted about shoulder width apart, your knees carry a slight softness rather than locking rigid, and your spine is long and upright. Physical stability is a direct expression of emotional stability, and her subconscious reads it before a single word leaves your mouth. One hand goes to the space between her shoulder blades. Warm, solid, protective. The other rests at the center of her upper back. Chest to chest, steady pressure, not crushing, but present enough that she knows without any doubt that you're fully there. Not distracted, not performing, not anxious, just there, completely and genuinely. And here is the piece that 99% of men never consider. You breathe slowly, deeply, with ease. That might sound minor, but your breath is the regulator of your entire nervous system. Calm is contagious. When she feels your chest expanding and settling in a slow, steady rhythm, her own body begins to match it. That's the moment real connection stops being a concept and starts being a feeling. You're no longer two people going through the motions of a social ritual. You're establishing something genuine, even in just a few seconds. The ideal window for this hug is somewhere between 2 and 5 seconds. Not so brief it feels dismissive, not so extended it tips into strange. Long enough for her nervous system to register, this man knows exactly what he's doing. And when it ends, you're the one who ends it, not her. You release with intention, letting your hands ease gently along her arms as you step back. You hold eye contact for just a bit longer than expected. You give her a relaxed, unhurried smile, maybe a quiet greeting, whatever fits the moment naturally. The ending of the hug carries just as much weight as the beginning. The entire thing becomes a glimpse of the kind of man you are, a brief but vivid preview of your character. She won't analyze it in the moment, but the feeling of it will stay with her. Through the rest of that evening, into the next day, and each time she sees you again after that. The real advantage here is that most men are completely unaware any of this exists. They're still caught in one of those first 3 patterns, losing ground they don't even know they're standing on. If you've been watching this and recognizing yourself in one of those mistakes, just know that every moment going forward is a new starting point. The hug is a beginning, not the whole story. Running through everything underneath it is a deeper principle, and that principle is presence. Being present with a woman means more than occupying the same physical space. It means she feels that your attention, your awareness, and your energy are entirely with her in that moment. Not on your phone, not scanning the room, not rehearsing your next line, fully here. We live in a time when distraction is the default. So a man who brings his complete attention to a moment is actually rare, and rarity is magnetic. When a woman feels genuinely seen and heard, something in her responds in a way that no technique can manufacture. She feels valued. She trusts you more. She opens. Presence also means managing your emotional state, because your inner world doesn't stay internal. It radiates outward. If you're anxious and scattered, she picks it up before you say anything. If you're centered and calm, she feels that too. Women are naturally drawn toward emotional steadiness, not because they want someone without feelings, but because a man who can stay grounded when things get tense communicates safety. He's someone you can rely on. He won't spiral. He won't make you feel like you need to manage him. That quality, quiet, emotional stability is more attractive than most men realize. If nervousness around women has been your pattern, the answer isn't to pretend you feel something you don't. It's to build the actual inner stability that changes how you come across. It starts with awareness. When you feel the anxiety rising, notice it without fighting it. Take a slow, deliberate breath. Check your body. Are your shoulders pulled up? Are your hands clenched? Soften them consciously. Bring yourself back to the room. This doesn't make you fake, it makes you grounded. And when you're grounded, something shifts in how she responds to you. She becomes more comfortable, more relaxed, more drawn toward you. Trust starts to build, and trust is the soil everything else grows from. Emotional stability also expresses itself through how you carry yourself physically. Your posture when you walk into a room, whether your chest is open or collapsed inward, whether your gaze is steady or restless, whether you take up your full space or seem to be apologizing for existing, all of it communicates something before language even enters the picture. Standing tall, shoulders easy and back, eyes level and unhurried, this isn't arrogance. It's self-assurance, and women feel the difference instantly. The most magnetic person in any room is rarely the loudest. More often, it's the one who moves through the space with quiet, settled confidence. You can feel their presence without needing to be told about it. Physical space matters too. The way you position yourself when you're in conversation, whether you're honoring her sense of personal boundary or pressing past it without reading the signals, tells her a great deal about your awareness and your respect. Being close enough to feel connected, while giving her enough room to feel free, is a balance that most men never consciously consider, but she notices it every time. Then there's touch beyond the hug. A light contact on the arm, a brief brush, a playful nudge in a moment of levity. When it's natural and appropriately timed, touch builds connection in a way that words alone cannot. But it needs to be genuine, not calculated, and you have to stay attuned to her response. If she leans in or her energy stays open, you're in the right register. If she tightens or pulls back, that's your signal to ease off. Reading those responses is a fundamental part of real communication, and it requires the kind of presence we've been talking about this whole time. When you bring all of this together, the grounded hug, the calm emotional presence, the open body language, the attentive awareness, you stop being a man who is trying to create attraction and become a man who simply generates it by being fully himself. Authenticity does something that technique can never replicate. Women can sense the difference between a man who is performing and a man who is simply at home in himself. When you stop reaching for her approval and start coming from a place of genuine confidence, it creates a security she's drawn to in a way she might not even be able to explain. And this isn't something you do once and forget. Consistency is what builds real trust. Showing up grounded and present one day but scattered and checked out the next creates doubt. But when your energy remains steady across every encounter, whether it's a first meeting or the 100th, she begins to count on it, to anticipate it. And that kind of reliability is something women find deeply, quietly, irresistibly attractive. Start putting this into practice with your very next interaction. Bring your full presence into the moment. Let your body language reflect the confidence you're cultivating. Remember to breathe, give the real hug, and then watch what shifts, not just in how she responds, but in how you feel when you're there with her. It won't transform overnight, but with consistency, the change becomes undeniable. If any of this has resonated with you, pass it along to someone who could use it. And if you want to share which of those 3 hug mistakes you've been guilty of, drop it in a comment. Every experience shared here is worth hearing.